and welcome to Sarah's Stamping Retreat. Today we're going to be playing with some dies from the new Lisa Horton magazine box kit and using them in different ways to create some pretty cards. So I'm going to show you the kit first. So all of this comes in the box along with a full-size magazine showing you how to use it. So you get these cute dies and they've got kind of embossing on them so you can use them on their own. But then they also combine with some of the stamps from in the stamp set as well. So this gorgeous stamp set with the really big floral and then some accent pieces as well. And the dies coordinate with this one, and this one. You get some really lovely sentiments in there as well. And then we've got a stencil. And for once my ring light's kind of helping me out by showing the pattern on that. We've got that gorgeous embossing folder, which is really hard to show on camera. But it's basically very similar to that floral with that leaf kind of on the side. I've not tested it, but I'm imagining that it probably embosses that image. And then you've got the paper pack. So we've got all these cut apart pieces and the green on the back and more cut apart pieces. So you've got loads of things to add to your cards there. And then you've got these gorgeous kind of background type patterns as well. And then we're back to the beginning. You get 2 of each. So I'm going to start off by stamping and colouring these die cuts. So I've die cut these in white cardstock, and often I like to stamp and then die cut my pieces. But sometimes when the dies are like this you can't see as well to line them up with the image, then I prefer to die cut them first. And when I do that, then I like to create a little kind of jig like this so that I can line up my stamps in these holes, and then I can pick the stamps up on the jig and I stamp them in Stays On ink. Then I can add my pieces into here, and then I can add that over, stamp them down and know that they're going to stamp in the right place. So then those are stamped really nicely. And obviously if you keep this piece in place, you can just keep stamping more and more die cuts until you're done. So then I want to colour these, and my favourite way to colour die cuts, as you can see by how filthy my mat is to colour them on a grippy mat, because it just holds them in place really nicely while you're colouring. So I'm going to use my Karen markers to colour, and the way I like to colour with those is just to add a little colour on first. So this one's the olive green, and then I like to use the blender pen to pull some of that colour out. And then you get the darkest bit where you've added the pen, and then a lighter area as you pull it out. I just think it's quite quick but quite effective. And then for the flowers, I'm going to use the gold first, then the amber, and then the blender pen to pull it all out. So you can see when I add the yellow over the orange, how nicely the two colours blend into each other. And then you obviously could, if you wanted a stronger colour, have that go right to the tips. But I like to use my blender pen and just pull it out a bit more. And then you get really light tips. And as you can see, it's a really quick way of getting a really beautiful blended look. So then I'm going to just use some of the other stamps in the kit, these two, just to add some more detail onto the cardstock. So we're going to create a circle card. So this piece that I'm using just now is about 4 3/4 inches. And I'm just adding these 2 extra stamps onto here. So then let's use our stencil, and I'm going to use the Blush Rose Fresh Dye ink from Horton, and I'm just going to blend around the flower, so I don't want it going over the flower. So I'm using a blending brush with a fairly small head. This is actually one of Horton's mini blending brushes, because obviously the bigger ones would be more difficult to control where you're going. And I've got some Dahlia cardstock. You can see this is what I've cut my card blank from as well. And I'm going to use this Thank You for Helping Me Grow sentiment. I'm just going to heat emboss that in white onto here. And I really love the font that they've used on these sentiments. So I'm just cutting this out. So then I'm going to colour these bits on here in the exact same way I did the die cuts. And I'm not going to colour this because I'm actually going to stick this over the top of here. So then I've cut these 2 circles. Those are going to be my card base, and these are 5 1/4 inches. And then on one of those circles I'm just going to cut a slither off the one side, and that will be to help it stand up. And then I'm going to turn it round. I'm going to line this up with one of these lines so that it's parallel, and then I'm going to score around about 1/2 inch from the other side. And then I'm just going to glue above that score line, and I'm going to glue this on. And then I want to add all my other pieces on with foam pads. So basically we're using the die cuts to add dimension to the image. Then there's that first card finished. So for this next card I've got a 5 1/4 inch square card blank. Then I've cut a 4 3/4 inch square piece of this cardstock, and I'm going to pop that up on foam pads on my card blank, and you'll see that I've cut all of these leaves out of it. I've got an area here where I haven't cut any, and that's because our main focal image is going to cover there. And basically this is kind of doing the job of like a cover die, but we just kind of created it with only that one leaf die. So then I'm going to add this onto here, and then what I want to do is start gluing some of these inside. So you can see, well, I hope you can see on camera, that these have got that embossed part on from the die, so they look really pretty. So I'm just kind of matching those up with where they go. And then I'm going to glue those into their places so that it creates this nice kind of dimensional background. So then I've stamped and coloured the main image. I've done that in exactly the same way as I did the images from the last card. And I'm just going to stamp my sentiment in green. So I'm going to use Sending You a Bouquet of Birthday Wishes. I'm just cutting around there. So then I'm going to add even more dimension behind here. Obviously, if you're posting it and you're worried about the depth of it, then by all means glue it down. So I'm going to add that onto there. So then you've got that really dimensional card. And then for my final one, I'm going to create a simple pattern card. So I've got a 4¼ by 5½ inch card blank. I've got a 5 by 3¾ inch piece of pink cardstock. That's the Dahlia from Spellbinders. And then I've got all these pieces that I've stamped and cut in the same way as the first one. So all I need to do is just create a little sentiment and put it together. So I think I'm going to go with Get Well Soon, because I think these are nice cheery colours for a Get Well Soon card. So I'm going to heat emboss that onto here, white embossing powder. So I'm going to go all out with the dimension again on this one. So I'm going to add some foam behind the pink piece. And then I'm going to add some more foam behind the sentiment. This foam that I've got here is just some scraps of from some large pieces of some single-sided adhesive foam. And I actually intended to buy double-sided adhesive foam. This was quite a lot cheaper. And I'm actually really glad I did, because it's nice to have the adhesive on the one side so you can just stick something down and you don't really want it to slide about on your actual like die cut or whatever you're sticking down. But what is quite nice is then when you add a bit of glue to the other side, it means you've got a bit of a wiggle room when you put it on your card, but the die cut's not wiggling about on top, if that makes sense. But anyway, I'm just using up some scraps from a larger piece of that. I think it's maybe 9 by 12 and you get like 10 sheets in a pack. I'll link it below if it's still available. I'm filming this about 2 or 3 months before it goes out because I'm making these cards for the magazine. So let's trim the excess off the other side. And then here I've got quite a big bit of excess. I'm just going to add that onto here, fill in that little gap. And then I can just add this onto my card front. So then there's that final card finish. I think it's really pretty. So now we've got all 3 of today's cards. I'd love to hear which is your favourite. Please do let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd really appreciate you clicking like below. You can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got a new video available. All of the products that I've used for today's cards are listed in the description below, and there's also a link there to my blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.